Hello, folks. I'm Nick Bernardo, your host of MyGovWatch Live, the B2G Roundtable. If you're east of the Rocky Mountains here in the US, good afternoon. Good morning to those of you out west, and hello to anyone joining us from the far corners of the earth or online in the future. Today's Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. This series is brought to you by MyGovWatch. With a curated white glove approach, MyGovWatch delivers double the leads of free government tools, but at a fraction of the cost of legacy websites. Big government contracts do not start with a solicitation, but all roads lead to one, and your budget for hearing about RFPs does not have to be thousands of dollars per year. Start your 14-day free trial today. And today we have a very special co-host, someone who has been with us before, Ms. Melinda Colon. Melinda, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. Thanks for coming back with us. How have you been?
I'm doing amazing, Nick. Thanks so much for having me. And hello, everybody.
Yeah, and I'm going to read a bio on Melinda real quick, folks. So Melinda is a strategic growth advisor and government contracting expert who helps construction, engineering, professional services, consulting, and IT businesses secure high-value state, local, and federal contracts. With more than 4.4 billion, that's billion with a B, folks, in awarded contracts and a 74% average win rate, she's become the go-to advisor for growth and premium contract strategy. As the creator of the GovCon sales strategy and strategic win engine, Melinda gives decision makers the tools and systems to turn uncertainty into contract winning clarity. So I just want to kind of piggyback off of the last part of that bio. Where do you think this uncertainty comes from, Melinda? Like, I know when we speak with people who are using our site where their uncertainty comes from, but how would you characterize the uncertainty that people typically have when they come to you?
Typically, it's just misinformation and a lot of noise trying to solve a problem like diversifying their revenue on their own. And, in government market, the public sector market, there are specific things that change and they evolve. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. So, a lot of times when I'm talking to different decision makers and business owners, they're using old information mixed with a lot of misinformation to make decisions about how they navigate through government contracting. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I find all the time that people are always hitting me with sort of cliches about government contracting.
yeah,
And, sometimes there might be a kernel of truth in the cliche, like the government always picks the lowest bidder, that
yes.
kind of thing. And I find that people sort of get stuck in these cliches and they don't realize there's a lot more nuance to it. I wonder if that's what you see.
100%. I deal with that question every single day. And I just have to combat it, especially on the service side. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But
Yeah.
it's not as cut as dry as we'll just go with the cheapest because in normal world, in our consumer world, when we go with the cheapest, it's not always the best. So what buyers want in government space are partners, people that can actually complete the work and do it well so that they don't have to come back to this and have to reaward this contract to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, for those of you who have not been with us before on MyGovWatch Live, this is an audience-driven format, totally unscripted. We're not going to be, reading content, or there won't be any monologues here. There are a few particular people who told me that they would be joining us today, who I'm wanting to engage with specifically. And I would just encourage anyone to raise their hand starting now, and we will bring you on with audio and video, and you can ask a question. We'll learn a little bit about your business, what you're trying to accomplish, and take your question. So I'm going to ask Melinda another question, sort of like related to my background. But so yeah, just give it some thought. But we'd like you to start raising your hands now so we can bring you on in the order in which we see those hands go up. So I always like having a fun background, Melinda, and you've seen this before in other sessions. And these are my two little boys. And this is actually probably 10 years ago. The one in the red t-shirt is 15 now, and he's 6'1", taller than me. And yeah, let's just say that, I look up to him at this point. And my daughter's not pictured. She was too young for that camping trip. But we just finished a camping trip to a place called the Delaware Water Gap. And I'm going to be asking anyone who participates, do you have any camping anecdotes or any outdoorsy anecdotes? Would love to hear them. For my part, I will just share that this family camping trip started in 2011. So it's like our 14th year this year. We went to the Delaware Water Gap, which is the Delaware River near Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York borders. And I have gotten the reputation, now it's like 30 people on this camping trip, Melinda. I've gotten the
Wow.
reputation as the scary storyteller, and I have really leaned into it. So
I
much
can
so
see
that
that, Nick. I can
all of
see that.
these kids are now teenagers, and they still ask me, Mr. Nick, can you please tell that story about this one, or tell the story about that one? There was one year where, and this was also at the Delaware Water Gap. We had some little kids there, and I made up a story about zombie Revolutionary War British soldiers coming out of the Delaware River.
Oh my
And let's
goodness.
just say the next morning, some of the fathers told me that their kids were up all night. So, for your part, Melinda, let me ask this. Do you have any camping or outdoorsy anecdotes to share?
Wow. Okay. So I would be terrified with that story as well. And I'm a grown adult. So that is wow. But I shared with you earlier, like my husband and I, when we first got married, we were really adventurous. We were thinking, like, what can we do? We could travel the world, we could do this, that, and the other. And we thought, let's go camping. Let's do a camping trip here in Florida. And so we bought all the gear. It took us, my gosh, 4 or 5 different Walmart trips and 2 Amazon orders to get all of it. And the weekend came, and of course, a hurricane hit
Ah,
that
which
day.
one? Do you remember which one?
I don't remember. I try to block them out because it's just like they're just a nuisance, right? But I don't remember. And I remember the day our entire car was packed because we had planned to go. So we thought, okay, we're going to pack the car the night before so that we can arrive there early, first thing, get a great spot and everything. And then we get the alerts. So that was unfun. But so no camping for us. Then we rescheduled it right after because we thought, well, it was going to pass. We're on a panhandle, so we're just going to pass it and it's going to be on the other side and in a day or two, then we can go then. And thankfully, Nick, we went then because the weather was perfect. Now, if you have you ever experienced a hurricane before? Have you ever?
Just the tail end of one here up here in the Northeast. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So at the end of a hurricane, usually we get the best weather. So it was right after the hurricane. We're unpacking everything at our spot, and it was beautiful. I mean, breezy nights. I mean, cool weather. Sun is just bursting out. It was great. But I do have some lesson learned from that one camping experience. One is that the size of a tent is always, I don't know how you do it with 30 people, but when we bought the tent, because it said it fits 2 people, but it literally fits just 2 people, like just side by side. There is no space in between. So we definitely upgraded on that, and we went to a 4 person tent just to get comfortable. And then the mattresses. Okay, so there was just some lessons learned about camping. It was an amazing experience, and it was hilarious the whole time, just having to go through that
Well,
together.
yeah, it sounds like it would be. And I've never camped in Florida, but I think it would be a very interesting experience. So I'll be asking everyone who joins us, like, do you have an anecdote to share? And if you don't, that's fine. Um, Baldwin, before we bring you in, well, you're welcome to join us now. I'm just going to share. So, hello, Baldwin. Can you share your audio?
Yes, sorry. Hi,
Yeah. Welcome to my GovWatch Live. Where are you joining us from?
New Orleans. So I'm very familiar with hurricanes.
You know all about the hurricane. So, Baldwin, before we get into your question, I know I marketed this event as something that would touch on the shutdown and, like, is federal buying still happening during the shutdown? I just want to share some numbers with the audience, and this may not necessarily be what you want to talk about, but like people can think about it and ask questions about it later. Before this session, well before this session, I did some research on the the other shutdown in the prior Trump administration, and that was a 35-day shutdown, tail end of 2018 into 2019. And there were over 11,000 new solicitations issued on sam.gov. And that's not all federal buying. That's just anything that rises to the level of a solicitation. Over 11,000 items posted, new items, new solicitations in that 35-day window. And that number, and this is for the audience to understand as well, it's really important. That was within 4% of the number for the previous year for the same dates. And it was within 3% of the number of the next year for the same date. So it was in the range of what was normal for the period. And I think what people really need to hear on this topic, Melinda, and I'd like to hear what you think about it, is that the average person doesn't realize that federal contracting officers are considered essential employees. And the contractors don't get to stop working when there's a federal shutdown, and they need someone to interact with. So the contracting officers don't get to go home. And so for that reason, there's no reason to stop buying new stuff if you're working anyway. So I'm wondering what you think about all that, Melinda.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I tell my clients there's two ways of looking at media and marketing, one as a consumer and one as a contractor. And the more that we get seasoned in contracting, especially in the government space, we learn that government contracting is a part of the economy. It's just how they help circulate the economy. So they're going to, regardless of what Congress has decided, they still need to do things to keep things moving forward. So there are essential and non-essential contracts. And like your point to, those COs are still in position. You could still pick up the phone and call them and talk to them and connect with them. And their focus is to get contracts awarded still till now. So it is happening not only just at the federal side, but also state, local, and education, or another acronym is the SLED side, state, local, education. And at the state, local level, we do see quite a bit of opportunities. My clients are winning contracts left and right still through this shutdown. And this, I would say, is the best time to build your strategy. It's almost as if you really think about it, when was the last time in your business you were able to pause your market and actually assess your strategy to grow and build your business? It didn't happen. It doesn't happen. These government shutdowns are an opportunity, even though we have to take the good with the bad, but this is an opportunity to really be strategic in this fiscal year, because they still have a requirement to spend a significant amount of money. Typically, it's the same amount of money every year with contractors, with small businesses. And so if we know that that's going to be the outcome, we could be really intentional about this time and not worry too much, but really be cognizant with our plans ahead for the next fiscal year.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And Baldwin, I'm going to come to you in a moment. I just want to tell Joseph and Thomas, you guys are going to be next. Mackenzie, if you could raise your hand just to let me know. I know you're going to be participating. I just want to get you in the queue. And so as folks raise their hands, we will bring them on in order. So Baldwin, what do you do? And so what does the company do down in New Orleans?
Sure. We are a startup called Civilized AI. Our CEO and founder is Matt Wisdom. He has some experience in local government and tech. So we are an AI company that builds agents that coordinate and help make cities faster, more efficient, easier, and effective for both residents and their government staff through different channels, mainly chat, but we're very excited about it. And I guess our question, because we're still very new, and AI is very new to government staff, what is the most effective way to introduce AI-driven tools to municipal leaders to get them to see it as essential and not necessarily a risk?
Yeah, great question, and we're going to answer it. But I want to answer your question with a question first, and this is equally as exciting. Do you have any fun camping or outdoors anecdotes to share?
Yeah, I went to summer camp every year in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, and lots of camping was done, but nothing that sticks out as a crazy story to share. So I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. So, in terms of your question, I would just like you to consider this event, consider this webinar. So we do this webinar series. It's a promotional thing that we do where we help people figure out like what to do with government contracting. It's probably about a 3-hour time commitment on my part each month. I enjoy doing it. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity to use education to market your services to municipal government agencies. Because we did a survey at the beginning of 2024, and you could look this up, just Google MyGovWatch press releases. And we asked hundreds of thousands of government buyers like questions and many of them answer them. And one of the questions we asked is like, where are you having trouble meeting the needs for sourcing? And over again, we heard people say technology. And we didn't even specifically ask them about artificial intelligence. So the same pressures that private sector entities are having finding the programming staff needed to get things done, government people have those challenges as well, with the additional layer of the bureaucracy of government buying. So I would think that, webinars that talk about like what is the state of AI today and what might it be in a year or two from now might be a fantastic way of pre-selling your audience. Melinda, I wonder what else you might add to that.
100%. I completely agree with that, Nick. And also, it is an education process. And so a part of that is that market research and reaching out to them and asking them what their concerns are with AI, because they've already talked about it internally. More than likely, it is just kind of a conversation internally that they haven't yet publicly advertised because, like like Nick said, there's regulations, there's a lot of bureaucracy, some red tape about what solutions are going to be best fit. So I would first start there and find out what those challenges or what they would call in sales objections are, and then address those in those webinars because they will show up and they want to learn.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, education, creating the reality and the perception, being the perceived leader in terms of educating, because a lot of these people have been in government for decades. So I'm 51 years old. AI is a newer concept. I would like to think because I'm in the tech space, I sort of get it more than the average person my age. But there are certainly people in government who are a lot older than me, who, they just haven't really given it much thought. So anything you can do to create opportunities to teach these people what the capabilities are today and what they might be in a few years, I think would pay dividends. And I wonder if you have a follow-up question.
No, I think that's a great idea, and I think our CEO would be a really great thought leader as far as educating everyone. The general public really doesn't understand the power of AI and what it can do. So
Well, for sure, for sure. So, Baldwin, I will tell you that when somebody joins with a question, we don't necessarily kick you off as a panelist. You can stick around because you can just be a part of the conversation as we go through things here. So, feel free to just stay with us. And if you have a follow-up question based on what someone else says, just chime right in.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to bring on Joseph. Let's see if we can get Joseph to come on. All right. Here comes Joseph. Can you hear us, Joseph?
Yep, I got you.
Hey, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. Joseph, what do you do and where are you joining us from?
Well, I am the co-founder of Urban Reblocked, where we take mixed plastic waste as well as electronic waste and turn it into building material. We are located in Roanoke, Virginia.
Well, fantastic.
So in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yes, the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so before we go further, any fun camping or outdoorsy anecdotes to share?
Not really. I mean, I grew up in the Boy Scouts, so obviously doing the campouts and the National Jamboree campouts, but nothing really interesting. My wife is not a outdoorsy person, but my
Yeah.
daughter just joined American Heritage Girl, so we'll be doing some camp outs soon, but who knows what'll happen with that. Hopefully
Yeah.
no hurricanes.
Well, you
Yes,
remind
hopefully
me
not.
of my wife as well, and her idea of camping is a cabin with air conditioning, heat, shower.
As long as there's plumbing, that's camping for my wife.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, interesting business that you're in, and obviously there's a lot of crossover with government. What questions do you have around what you're doing?
My biggest question, what we're trying to do right now is expand more so on the electronic waste side. So reaching out to local municipalities and other government agencies and entities to try to help them with their recycling capabilities of their e-waste. To our knowledge, we are the only company in the country that can fully recycle all parts of an electronic, mainly because most processors out there, they just shred it all and the plastic goes into the trash.
Yeah,
So we're actually able to take that plastic and turn it into something else. So trying to get that out there and getting them to understand that there's more of a benefit to go with us than Green Chip or other companies out there that are doing e-waste recycling. It's a small company right now.
yeah,
It's me, my father's a co-founder, and then we've got a couple employees. But we are growing exponentially fast, but trying to manage all that and trying to figure out how to fit the governmental aspect on
yeah.
that is my biggest hurdle because I'm a transplant from California and I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
Granted, I don't claim California. I was born there, but that's it. Been in Virginia for most of my life, but we don't know anybody. So trying to break that barrier because it's all about who you know in the
Yeah,
government
absolutely.
more than
Absolutely.
anything
Well,
else.
um, so I have some thoughts. Melinda, anything immediately come to mind? I mean, I definitely have some ideas. Is there anything that you'd like to ask or share before I jump in?
Yeah. So Joseph, have you looked at, or has anyone in your company looked at past solicitations for recycling to municipalities? And then the second question is, do you know the municipalities in your state that are cognizant or focused on the green energy and recycling?
Uh, to number one, yes, we have done some FOIA requests and things like that for our local city. We
Okay.
actually put in a bid for our city's single stream recycling contract, although we didn't win it, but we understand somewhat on how that does work. Um, it's just trying to figure out who to reach out to, where to reach out to, and whatnot.
I,
Um,
yeah.
we're in the process of speaking with the environmental manager here in Roanoke as far as their e-waste contract. So
Excellent.
we're slowly starting that, but again, I only have so much time and so much hair left on top of my head to be able to pull out to try to get through these things.
Wow, you're doing so great. Yeah,
It's just
you're
trying to
doing
figure all
awesome.
these things out.
Yeah, so you already started the process. One thing that I would say, if you haven't done that already, is ask for feedback, that debrief, because
Mhm.
it might be a misunderstanding about the product and the solution that
Okay.
you can navigate with them. Like, okay, so really interested to learn more. What part, where can we improve? How can we improve our response? And that could open up a conversation to further learn about your product and your services, because that's your point of contact.
Gotcha.
They're evaluating your proposals. That is your point of contact for buying what you sell.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joseph, I have two really specific things that I can tell you. So number one, we see RFPs on MyGovWatch all the time related to what you do. So it's becoming and has become a normal part of
Mhm.
the government buying ecosystem. And so, like, if you sign up on MyGovWatch because you participated in the session, instead of the 2 week free trial, you get a month. And I just want to remind anybody who participates in this session who's never used the site before and then signs up this week, you'll get 1 month instead of 2 weeks. The other thing I would tell you, and I think this is really cool, a lot of people don't realize that you can use open procurements to obtain information during an open procurement when there is purchase A and then there is something related to that. So when somebody's buying something, they have to answer questions related to the procurement. Now, if somebody's buying, I don't know, a trash truck, you can't ask them about their IT needs. But if someone were buying new iPads for a school district or new devices for a school district, you could begin a business process where every single time you see a school district buying new devices, you could slip in a question and say, hey, what are your plans for your end of life devices and what is the time frame for that and who are the people involved in that? And I would not be surprised if you started that as a weekly business process. If I would be very highly confident that that would lead you to opportunities. And you don't even have to respond to the bids. You're not selling those devices, but you can use those open bids. Ask that question. You won't always get an answer, but you will often get an answer. And I wonder what you think of that.
Okay. Yeah, I like that idea. It sounds like that's a little backdoor entry into the person that would be making those decisions, if not would be adjacent to making those choices.
Yes, and even the RFP documents themselves for the device purchases would have names of people.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So even though you're not bidding on those contracts, you want to pay attention to those because they will have names.
Okay. Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
For sure. Follow-up questions?
None.
Okay. Stay with us. We're going to bring Thomas on now, and then Mackenzie, you're right after that. And don't forget, I'm going to be asking about camping anecdotes. And if you have one, great. If you don't, that's not the end of the world either. Let's see if we can bring Thomas on. And something new to MyGovWatch, as we bring Thomas in here. We see Thomas coming in. Thomas, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, and are you able to add your video?
I think so. Hold on.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And fair warning, and this is actually new to MyGovWatch Live. We started something new recently where we're just requiring both audio and video. So appreciate you guys sharing both with us. So do you prefer Thomas or Tom?
Tom.
Tom, thanks for joining. Before we get started, looks like you have a pretty cool office. I don't know if that's a virtual background or the real thing, but any camping or outdoor anecdotes?
Yes. And by the way, since I'm now a formal panelist, is this a paid position? I just want to know if that's possible. I'll give you the address.
Yeah, your reward will be not of this earth.
I'll second that one, you know.
Sure. So camping, I got a lot of them, but there was a time in the past when my kids were younger that we got stuck in a tornado in Texas.
Wow.
On the lake. And we were in a screen shelter, luckily not just a tent. And we ended up holding up rafts against the screens to get the water from blowing through because the kids were screaming. And it was very close. And my wife had everybody start singing songs to kind of break up the fear. And it was very, very intense. It passed through very quickly. I looked out in my ski boat that was in the water when I started that process, is now on the land about 15 feet out of the water.
Wow.
And that was only the campsite we were at was probably 50 feet from the water, and we were that close.
And you said a screen shelter. Is this something that they put up for this situation? Like, what is that?
No. So typical campsites, you got a concrete pad, whatever. In a screen shelter, it's kind of like it's the very beginning of glamping. So basically, you have a full wood enclosed structure, and it's screening all the way around except for the bottom 2 or 3 feet. It's screened all the way around. So
and this is provided by the campsite?
Yeah. So you can reserve.
We don't have them in this part of the country. That's the only reason I'm curious about it.
Yeah. Well, I think the screens help a lot with the mosquitoes because we do have those a lot in Texas. But it's just another way of providing a little more shelter, especially, we have storm seasons and we do get our share of tornadoes in Texas. So It was just an alternative to be able to give you a nice picnic table inside the building, be able to eat when there's bad weather. It gets really hot in the summer, so it's 105 maybe in the worst parts of the summer. So there's just some of them have them as an option. Not everybody has them. So
Well, it's a harrowing tale, and if there were a documentary about it, I'd like to watch it. um, so what brings you to the session today, and tell us a little bit about what you do.
So my company is ContactWorks. I founded it in 2004, and it's Austin based. And I've been focused a lot. I'm hard-headed. I've been focused a lot on U.S. sourcing. When COVID hit, the world changed on outsourcing, and the fear of going offshore became a little deal instead of a big deal, and mass exodus out of the U.S. So it's been a lot harder uh, attracting U.S. customers, and I have some capabilities in other countries through partners, so I have that too. But at the time, I thought I need to start getting into government because government is going to be the last group that goes offshore. So I started getting involved, started going into all the sites, getting registered with all the providers, doing all that good stuff. Started submitting bids 2 years ago. Probably submitted 15 15 to 20 bids for call center services. Haven't won one yet. So we've got I've got 30 years experience in industry. I know what I'm doing. And the price, so a couple concerns or frustrations I have, y'all can help me with. One is the prices that people are winning these opportunities at is so low compared to anything that I'm used to in the commercial sector. And people are like, there's no way they can make money at that. So they're buying it to get into the experience and get that on their resume. But it's just very frustrating to see these companies and some of them, just from some of the questions I ask, you understand they're not very qualified to do it. But anyway, it's that, lowest price plus value, they win the deal. And I'm like, I just don't want to play in that field. I'm trying to find some other way to win business that doesn't require you to do it at a 5% margin. And my business has not been used to that kind of a number. So that's one frustration. The other is I don't see that I ever win anything when there's an incumbent involved. And there's probably in at least 2/3 of the bids I've done, there's been an incumbent that's participating in the bid process, because that's one of the questions I always ask. It just is the incumbent doing a satisfactory job, and are they participating going forward? And when those answers are yes, my hopes of winning something goes down by 80%. The other frustration is it's hard to get feedback on a timely basis from a lot of the governments. One time it took 9 months before I got anything back. They finally sent it, but they gave a summary of where I ranked, and it's a very competitive process in my industry. And I've just been toying with walking away from it. The number of bids that I've actually participated in, well, I haven't done any in the last 3 months. I gave it some time off, and I've just been trying to reconsider what I should do. The reason I'm here is because I've been using other resources to find my bids. And I thought, well, maybe that's one of my issues. I need to go revisit that as well. So, because the activity that I felt like I could compete in has, in my mind, dropped off quite a lot. It seems to be picking back up right now, but for the first 6 months of this year, I found it to be very, very slow in terms of call center outsourcing bids. So those are my frustrations.
Absolutely. You've said a mouthful, Tom, and I appreciate you sharing that. I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch. We should have a conversation offline, because the call center industry, we track 205 industries on the MyGovWatch website. Call center is an elevated industry, and we have what we call premium services around call center opportunities, where what we're doing is we are tracking the entire life cycle of every call center contract that hits our system. So would you agree that you need a sniper's approach and not a shotgun approach to these opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of time. These things take a lot of time to complete. And the feedback is, well, you didn't give enough detail. I go, I give you 15 pages of detail, and they, whatever it is, I go, okay, that one had an incumbent. I get it. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't want to take this, in a sales direction, but so what you're able to see on the site as contracts come out for bid, you can see the histories for call center. So you're not like spending 3 days writing a bid. You're looking at some documents to see who had the contract 4 years ago and how long have they had it. And instead of, blindly bidding on things, you have a lot more information up front because in many cases you can see what happened last time and you can see into the future what's coming out so that if you want to pick up the phone before the cone of silence starts around a bid process, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, are you guys happy with the incumbent? I see that you're probably going to have a bid out because the contract's expiring at the end of the year. So this elevated tier of service we offer has those features. So yeah, we can talk offline about that.
Okay.
But these are very common concerns because you're in a field where it's very competitive from a pricing standpoint. So you just need to do whatever you can do to not shotgun bids out, but only bid on the one thing where it seems like they're not as cost conscious and maybe it's within your parameters of what you would do with the opportunity. So yeah. Follow-up questions or maybe Melinda, you have some observations?
Well, I was going to ask you, Tom, have you had your proposals reviewed and analyzed by a proposal consultant or someone that can give you feedback on how to improve? Because if there is a question about clarity, we kind of want to understand where the buyer is feeling that.
The answer is no, I haven't. I do have a business partner that's been doing government contracts for a long time, but not in my industry. So she's also kind of been my consultant in terms of what we need to do.
Okay,
And some of the proposals I've done are done under her umbrella because of her minority enterprise. All the different qualifications that she has that I don't. But those aren't as just going to sound terrible, but they seem to be less important than they were a year ago. Very, very few of them now require ME content, and that's just what I'm seeing anyway. So there's been no reason to have her in that process because we're sharing revenue and profits at that point in time. So
yes. Okay.
But so no, I have not done it through a third-party independent consultant. But I do have a follow-up question. You mentioned getting ahead of the bid process, getting access to the procurement people prior to a bid coming out. I've heard that before, and I have just seen that it's hard to reach those people if they're not during the RFP process. It just seems like that sounds good, but I haven't heard of that many people that actually did it and said, yes, I won 30% more bids because I got ahead of the bid process.
Okay, so let me just give you this example, and this is a hypothetical. A lot of times there is the purchasing person, and that might be the name that you're aware of involved in a bid process.
Right.
But when you let's just say, for example, a contract was out for bid in 2021 and it's coming out again in 2026, through the FOIA process, you might see evaluation documents on our site where Bob is the purchasing agent, Nancy is the business user, Cecilia is another business user who's involved in it, and their names wouldn't necessarily be on the RFP, but they would be in the evaluation documents, right? And so if you call Bob because he's the purchasing guy, he's got 50 other things he's dealing with, and that's just one contract. But Nancy and Cecilia might take your call because they're not generally dealing with vendors. And if you call them before the bid process, they might just tell you something. So I'm just saying that the universe of people you can contact could become larger if you were open to looking at some of the things on our site prior to the bid coming out, expanding the pool of people that you would know to call in the first place.
Okay. I'll try that because it just seems like they will also have the party line which says that bid's coming out in 4 months. You can read it when you get it. If you have questions, then let us know, kind of stuff. I can just hear that.
Yeah, and you will certainly hear some of that. But we have lots of examples of people who have won significant contracts or not bid on other contracts, right? Because half of this game is knowing which one to bid on, but a lot of the value also is disqualifying 49 other things that would be a waste of your time. And that's part of the game.
Yep, agree.
So would love to have a conversation with you outside of this format. But Tom, stay with us. Mackenzie, we're going to bring you on. Travis, you're next. So let's bring Mackenzie in. And anyone can chime in as we talk with any of our friends who've joined us here. If you have a specific question or just something that you think of because of the topic that we're discussing, just jump right in. Hey, Mackenzie, welcome to MyGovWatch Live.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'll let everyone know, Mackenzie and I have spoken before, and the secret is, like, she's going to be asking me a question that I already know is coming, and that's fine, because I think it'll be a valuable exercise for anyone who's looking at GSA contracting. But before we go further, Mackenzie, any outdoors or camping anecdotes?
No, I don't like camping.
Okay.
I love being outdoors and animals and doing other things outdoors, but not camping. So
okay, fair enough.
Not for me.
Okay, all right. So, well, then let's do this instead. For the purposes of anyone in the session who doesn't know you, and we've spoken before, what do you do and where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Kansas City, Missouri. Technically, I guess we're right on state line. So Kansas or Missouri. I claim the Kansas side. I'm a government account specialist for my husband's company. I kind of just inserted myself into his business a few months ago, and he
Good for you.
Loves that for him. So I just decided that going after government contracts was something we should start looking into. And so I've been kind of taking on that role.
Well, fantastic. And I remember what we were supposed to research, but could you phrase it as a question for the group here so that I can then answer it?
Yes. And I was trying to remember how I even asked, but I think I was just asking if there was benefit to having a GSA contract and what that looked like, even for our industry specific. So his company does industrial media blasting, and so they will clean, strip, and coat pretty much any surface that you can think of. So some of their work is very niche and very specialty, and then they could do something as broad as like power washing. So it can be as simple as that, or very detailed where you need certain criteria and have to have different levels to be able to get in to work in some of the facilities and things like that.
Fantastic. Thanks for that question. And before I answer it, and I'm going to answer it with a screen share and research that I'm going to show you on screen. Melinda, what are you seeing? And I sort of have been reading a lot of things and paying attention, but for the sake of the audience, can you share with everyone, like, what is happening in the GSA universe since last November?
A lot has happened. You know, it's almost like a revitalization in the GSA space for GSA schedules. And as we start to see, you know, more continuing contracts, more itemized contracts, I believe that GSA is going to be, or GSA schedules are going to be more common than not. Because they're combating with several things. They're combating with, when I say they, I mean the government is combating with, you know, just all of this experience transferring out of the market through the American wealth transfer. We are seeing a lot of businesses that are leaving the government space, but then also new businesses that may not have the past performance they used to. And so they're being really cognizant to partner with companies that have their experience, their knowledge to deliver excellence, and also to increase efficiency. It's a part of the efficiency program as well. So I see it happening more and more. I don't believe that this is something that we should ignore. I actually think that this is something that all contractors should start looking into and at least getting educated in it if it's something that you want to revisit later on. But it's also something like I also want to mention the IDIQ programs, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, and also the MADOCs. There's different federal type contracts. And also at the state and local side, there are continuing services contracts that typically run the same way with the similar terms. So once you're in, you're kind of like in this pool of qualified, pre-qualified contractors that are on speed dial. And that's what you want. You want to continue to build that relationship so that bigger and better opportunities come down the pike. You already have that established relationship with buyers.
I really like the way you said that, Melinda, on speed dial, because really when you enter into a GSA contract, you're contracting for products and or services at predetermined rates so that all they have to do is send an email to the contractors that are on that list and say, this is the job, this is what we're looking for, this is what we're buying. And as long as your pricing is in line with that, you just submit an offer and they may pick you. So it's an expedited way. And you know, we avoid getting political in these sessions, but I think anyone would agree that this president likes to drive a hard bargain, and pushing more federal buying to the GSA schedules is a way to do that with procurement. So I guess, Mackenzie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. Let's find the right one. All right. And are you folks looking at a website, GSA Advantage, with vendors listed in rectangles?
Yep, we see it.
Fantastic. Okay. So the question that Mackenzie asked is like, should we be looking at getting a GSA contract? The answer, Mackenzie, in your case is yes. You should be considering it, if not moving forward with it. And so I didn't look up everything that you do. I just looked up a couple of things, but I already saw enough just from looking at coatings, right? Putting coatings on things that require specialized coatings, sandblasting, and pressure washing. I just looked at those three things. And here's the exercise that I went through. And this is something that you could replicate for your business if you would like to figure out if your company needs a GSA contract. So I went to a website called GSA Advantage, and I just did a very simple search for services at the top here. You can do product services, or you can search within some of the areas where they have GSA schedules. And I just did a services search on coating, right? Just a very broad term. Then what I did was I pulled up a list of those vendors and I just started clicking on them. I clicked on East Coast refinishing and surface stripping, okay? So every vendor has data points, including their website. So then what I did was I looked at their website and I was able to see that what they do is in line with what your company does, Mackenzie. And Mackenzie also gave me a list of what she perceived to be competitors. I didn't really find those companies in the GSA universe, but I did find other companies like this company. So they do things similar to what you do: specialty coatings, media blasting, and so on and so forth. And here's what people need to understand about what's available in the GSA Advantage system. You are able to pull up a list, and let's just see if I can go back to it here. So this little gray box here, terms and conditions and price list, this is publicly available. You are able to pull up a list of that contractor's pricing by line item. And so, for example, you should see on the screen that they have a price, and I guess it's an hourly rate for a sandblaster or a spray paint technician. So I'm not saying that this would be your hourly rate, but this is evidence that there's a company that does what you do who has a GSA schedule contract. So there must be activity generally for this if they are taking and allowing vendors to put those line items into their GSA contracts. So I just wanted to stop here and say that the prices that you see on the screen here, those are ceiling rates, meaning when you get your GSA contract, the GSA is going to approve you at certain rates for certain activities, and that is the most you can ever be paid. All right. And I want to stop there, Mackenzie, and see if you have a question about this item, and then we'll look at another one.
Okay, so when you do GSA, they are the ones that tell you that ceiling rate. You're not telling them what your like hourly rate is.
Not correct. Not correct. Melinda, do you want to talk a little bit about how the pricing works?
It's a negotiated process. You'll bring your price, and they will have their budgetary plans, and you come to a negotiation on what that price needs to be for the catalog.
And that means every time someone calls you to put a bid in, that's the number that you submit.
That's
Yes.
that's the maximum number you submit.
Right.
You can go below it, you just can't go above it.
Correct.
Okay, so the negotiated pricing is for the maximum rate, not for an hourly rate. Like you're negotiating the max rate, and then when you go to actually submit the bid, you could do a little under it if they're trying to go off pricing. Do they normally go off pricing? Like how does that?
It can be anything under the sun. And let me just sort of talk about this a little bit. The GSA is not telling you how to do your pricing in general. So if you only do hourly pricing by task, well, then that's the reality, because any price that you present to GSA, you have to prove through invoices, typically, that you've gotten that rate before. You can't just say, I propose this rate. You have to show them the money, so to speak.
It's the market price.
Yeah, the market price. And so just using the example of what's on the screen, if there were a GSA opportunity and the GSA came out and said, we're hiring sandblasters and we're looking to pay $180 per hour, guess what? East Coast Refinishing cannot participate in that opportunity because they've never justified that price. They can only go below that 172.80. So your general goal with pricing for GSA is to have as many different ways that you show that you've done pricing per square foot, per item, you know, this one for a metal tank, this one for something else. The more different pricing options you have and the higher those prices are, that is the way that you are able to be included in the most opportunities. And I want to stop there and see if you have questions.
I did, and it was fleeting.
And by the way, you can share this. This will be recorded. You can share this and think about it and send me questions later. But I just want to show you the other example. So the other example was I did pressure washing. Where is it? Yeah, okay. So pressure washing up here in the search with services and pulled up a list of companies. Same thing, Clean Team Janitorial Services. I clicked on that and you're able to see their website and you can see their price list. So I then went to their website. And when you start poking around the website, you can see that they do pressure washing. This is a traditional commercial cleaning company. And then because all vendor pricing is public, I was able to go to their pricing and see that they have stuff in here related to, well, so they mentioned pressure washing in their capability statement. And so I'm sure the pressure washing services themselves would be covered by, you know, something that you see here in facilities maintenance for janitor, perhaps. So they wouldn't necessarily call it pressure washing, but they could say, okay, well, that falls under janitor for us. And our rate for the base year is $24.43 per hour. And that janitor can do pressure washing, for example. GSA is also not going to tell you the names of your pricing categories. You're going to tell them the names of your pricing categories.
Okay, so it goes off NAICS codes?
Generally off of your NAICS codes, yes.
Okay. And then, so I see that they had Sandblaster. We don't really use sand anymore, but we have like 50 some odd different medias. So would I just put it all under the specialty contractor code? Because that's how we had been doing some of it. Does that kind of capture all of it?
So I have a feeling about that, Melinda. Do you have anything that you would say about that?
Well, I was going to say I would recommend not to have one categorized line item. I would break it down and it just make it simple, easy for them to understand what's included in that line item.
Yeah, and I want to say this, and this is like a philosophical statement. The broader the naming conventions of your GSA line item pricing, the more you can justify that something comes under it. So if you have something as specific as sandblasting, and now there's something that's not quite sandblasting and you'd like to bid on it, the GSA or the buyer might say to you, well, you don't have that item on your GSA schedule, so you can't bid on this. So so can you give me a type of coding? Like what's a type of coding that your company does?
Are you talking about the code?
Specialty,
coat?
COAT.
So that's where I think I'm going with this, because that 238320 is like painting and wall covering. So they have sandblaster and prep labor. So it's just interesting, like the codes and stuff. But anyways, 238990, I need to look it up, but I think it's specialty trades or something. And so like if we want to dry ice blast, or we want to hydro blast,
Okay.
anything like that, like it would all fall under that. But I also think the sandblasting, because we don't really sandblast, it's not even sandblasting, it's like abrasive blasting.
Okay. So I just want to
under that.
I just want to stop you there, because you just said some really specific terms of art in your business, and I don't have to be an expert in your business to know this, but you just said hydroblast, right? So it's better for you to have surface preparation services as the name, as opposed to hydroblasting, because then any form of surface preparation would be applicable to your pricing category and you can bid on it. Whereas if you call the category hydroblasting and they want something and it's not quite hydroblasting, if you don't have that thing, then you can't bid on it. So you use naming conventions that are a little bit vague intentionally.
Okay, so I think that's where I was going with the specialty trades, that 238990 code. I need to look it up to see if that's what it is. But you're saying don't use specialty trades as the category.
Yeah, you do not have to use the NAICS terminology as the names of your pricing categories.
Okay.
You're going to invent the names of your prices, and you want to try to get the most broad categories of pricing at the highest numbers possible, because again, you can never exceed the pricing on that.
Okay, so if the title was surface prep, that's what you said to call it, that would encapsulate all of that?
That would be an example of that, yes. And so anything that you consider surface prep, if a bid comes out for hydroblasting versus sandblasting versus pressure washing, you could say, oh, well, that's just our surface prep service, and this is the rate, and make sure it's the highest rate that you can justify with invoices or contracts, because then you can participate below that or up to that, but not beyond it.
Okay, so since cleaning and stripping and all that is one side of what we do, the other side is the coating, then just call the other one coating. And that kind of encompasses everything, is what you're saying. Like make it very like we can clean or strip, or we can coat it. Like that's just
broad is better than specific.
Got it.
Generally speaking.
For GSA schedules.
For GSA schedules, yes, absolutely. All right, and let me just, I'm going to stop the share there because I think it makes the point. Okay, Travis, we're coming to you in a moment. I just want to say, Mackenzie, you can stay with us. Maybe a follow-up question now, and yeah, anything else you can think of now?
I don't think so. I'm gonna, just keep looking into this. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Please stay with us and feel free to jump in as people bring up topics that you would like to talk about. Also, we're going to bring Travis in. And let's wait for Travis. Hopefully Travis has not gone to lunch. Looks like Travis is going to join us. Hello, Travis.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Houston, Texas. I work for a company called Helix International. We talked actually last week for a little bit, but we provide travel risk management solutions, typically for private and government. We're a global company, but we're in the UK. We provide services for the UK government when their employees travel and they get into some bad situations where they need evacuations, medical assistance, security, or support. You go somewhere and you break your leg, which hospital do you go to? Are you being tracking and things like that? So we're just looking to get into the US government space a little bit stronger, and we've registered on sam.gov, starting to see a few bids here and there, but the windows are very short. It's like 2 weeks and then they're about to close. So kind of like Mackenzie asked, we want to know if the GSA is the next best step. Can you see how can we see some open bids there to make it worth the value, and just kind of build our pipeline out in that space?
Yeah. Well, and before we go further, any interesting camping or outdoor stories or anecdotes?
I was trying to think of that. I grew up in Northwest Oregon, so not a crazy storm story, but it used to rain a lot, so the camping was fun until the rain started. But other than that, yeah, just used to camp a lot when I was a kid.
Well, I made it through Northwestern Oregon during COVID. Took a ride out there with my whole family in an RV. And
Oh, wow.
does anyone swim near the beach where the Goonies movie was filmed? Because I got to tell you, that was the coldest water I ever stepped in.
You know what? Never swim. I actually grew up there in Astoria, I believe, years, yeah, when I was young. But yeah, definitely cold water out there.
Okay, well, you're in an interesting line of work. Um, I did some searching around, and there are titles in our system around what you do. But I
Yeah.
did a very limited search, Travis. So I think you would be a good candidate to sign up for the site and try it for a month if you'd be willing to. Because during that time, what we would do is we would just like help you figure out the search. Because part of the issue we have with our site is like people sign up and they're not forced to engage with us. They only engage with us if they decide that they're going to do that. But if someone
Yeah.
does engage with us, we can show them what really is in the system beyond what they think of themselves. So I would just encourage you to give it a chance because it's an inexpensive way of hearing about the opportunities that come up
Yeah.
in a timely manner so that you can respond to them. So what else have you done so far to pursue government contracts? And have you done things federal or state or local? Like what have you done so far?
Let me say, I guess some state stuff. We participated in multiple like university RFPs where they're having their students travel abroad and they need that type of protection for them. Some state and local governments were looking at different. I mean, there's all type of these RFP, I guess, generations like Find RFP. I'm starting to see a lot of different bids, but really trying to aggregate, narrow that down. But we're probably just 2 months into really getting that stood up and see which direction we want to go. I looked on spend.gov or GovSpend to kind of see where there might be some spend with my competitors in the past and found some where they showed some prior RFPs. So I'm trying to put that out on this. They must be coming up for renewals possibly, and then trying to find those decision makers. And that's, again, I
Yeah,
just kind of want to have a better idea of that pipeline coming in.
it sounds like you understand the value and importance of having the right information at the right time, and that
Sure.
bodes well for your success in this endeavor. Melinda, what would you add?
Oh goodness. It sounds like you're already doing a lot of the work that you
Yeah.
need to do is do the market research. That's the first step. And then the second step would be is to look at those RFPs, the solicitations, and start to like almost mock through them, even if they have been awarded before. Just mock through
Yeah.
them. And through MyGovWatch, you could request a FOIA, or a copy of that pursuit, so you can get an idea of how they responded to that. Right, Nick? That's accurate,
Yes,
right?
yes, ma'am. It's a one-off spend you can do on the site is have us do the open records requests so that you're anonymous, so you get the information without being the one requesting it, because oftentimes they stonewall or they don't like giving it to you, and we don't
Sure.
care if they don't like us. We
Yeah.
follow up anyway.
But it is a great opportunity for you to see what is being awarded and how it's being positioned before you put in the resources to respond to an opportunity. But I would definitely do it either way. Just start building those relationships and doing exactly what you're doing. You're doing the greatest work most people don't do, which is doing the market research and finding out what is actually working, who is winning these contracts, what are these companies, how are they positioning to win these contracts so that I can get into the game for sure.
That sounds good. Any trade shows or networking events you recommend?
Oh
So,
goodness, there's so many.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's really sky's the limit. It's like you have to sort of define what market are you trying to play in, federal,
Okay.
a region of the country, a state within the country, and then you sort of go from there.
Mhm.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so you could spend 100% of your time bird dogging events and going to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always recommend just to simplify, one federal or however many the target clients that you want to focus on, simplify that list and then build really good relationships with them. Look at their schedules of when they have vendor days and show up, connect with people there that's always a great way for you to get an idea of the types of vendors that already exist, but also to put a face to the name when they know who you are, right? And you're building that relationship as well. Yeah.
Do you have
That way
clients? I'm sorry, go ahead, Melinda.
No, that way you're not spread so thin, because there is quite a bit of market research that has to happen. But you know, you just want to be really intentional about those relationships as you're building them.
Do you have clients in the private sector where you are serving an end client through a prime contractor where you're part of a bigger solution?
No, we are looking at, I was looking at some of those as well, like being some with some of those prime contractors that win some of the big pieces of that business. Maybe they just do the medical security portion or something like that.
Yeah, I would think there would be an opportunity, because what you do is a pretty specialized thing. It's considered a pretty specialized thing, right?
Yeah, typically.
I would think that there would be opportunities where there might be an RFP that says medical transport services, right? And those come up all the time on our site. And if you were to pay attention to those, you could identify who's winning those contracts and which of those companies do not offer the air portion, right? And you can set up subcontracts with a lot of companies that are bidding on the ground transportation who just simply don't have the air covered.
Yeah, good idea.
So I don't know if anyone has presented that, you know, through the other websites that you're considering using now, but that, I mean, I'd be happy to show you like how often that happens and how to approach those kinds of companies when they come up. If you were to give our site a try, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be good to have a follow-up call and really drill down and see, you know, to find the market for it.
For sure. For sure. So we're just about an hour and 10 minutes in, folks. These sessions can last anywhere from an hour to an hour and 45 minutes. But what we've done, Melinda, recently, we don't try to extend the session if people are like out of questions. I'll just tell you there's still a handful of people on the session. If you have a question, now would be a great time to raise your hand and come on. We'll answer your question. We'll extend this session and we'll talk a little bit about your business and give you really specific feedback about what you could be doing. So there's Michael. Let's bring Michael on. And Travis, please stay with us. If you think of a follow-up question based on anything that Michael might have to say, please jump right back in. Yeah, and Melinda agreed graciously to spend an hour with us. And I realize we're over an hour at this point, Melinda. If at some point you have to jump off, just jump in and you can say your goodbyes. Tell people how to contact you if you'd like to do that. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to give it a few minutes?
Yeah, let's do that now while Michael's hopping in. So just a little bit about how to connect with me if you're interested in working with me. You can go to melindacolon.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content on there. I'm there every Tuesday live, so you can join me. And I'm actually also hosting a virtual event next Wednesday called GovScale Insider Masterclass. This is where I'm going to share my proven system for unlocking government contracts and really strategically positioning a lot of what we're talking about today, but getting a customized fit for your business. So you simply just either go to my website or go to LinkedIn and you can find the link. And actually, I can put the link in the chat so you guys have that as well. And thanks so much, Nick. Appreciate that. And
so please connect with Melinda. She's on LinkedIn. You can find her very easily there. She's going to put something in the chat. I've put her website in the chat. But Melinda, whenever you want to jump off, feel free. So Michael, thank you for joining us. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
Hi, so my name is Michael McKeefrey. I am the Operations Vice President of 3M Trade Supply. We do business as Trademark Industrial.
We spoke earlier.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, so it's a construction consumable sales organization that's had, so a little bit about me. So why I came on board is I worked in the government for the last 30 years. So came on board in January 6th of all days, right? If you remember that day. So I joined the team here and we're standing up a government sales division. So probably like most others, right? We start with sam.gov. We're going through the GSA registration. And I think Travis said it best, like trying to get into that government footprint, how to put all of our processes and, go through the layers and layers and layers of required documentation and narratives to do that. Okay. And we're about on the 1 yard line with the GSA. But what I've been doing is just kind of muddling through, RFPs or, the different documents that come out on sam.gov. And I think one thing that may be a little different with us, and maybe not, everyone wants to think they're different. I'm really chasing what I would call task orders that are assigned to major construction contracts, right? So, Army Corps of Engineers has to do something. They're going to go rebuild Iraq, and they're using every bit of everything that's in my warehouse. Okay, so when I'm looking at current government pricing, we're way better and offering the same product, which is unfortunate in the process itself, right? But good for us. So I want to enter the market and be competitive and get after some of these subcontracts, task orders, call them what you want, but trying to get through the documents that are on sam.gov and try to figure out where we fit, it's impossible.
Well, I just want to give you credit. If you're at the 1 yard line with GSA, have you been doing that submission yourself? Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious, how many line items will be in your GSA contract?
Probably something along the lines of 300 to start.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's quite a lot of work. And there's a market probably for every single one of those things that would be in your contract. To what extent are you interested in federal versus state and local?
That's such a great, so one of the things that's such a great question. So one of the things that I've been trying to understand is, so I'm a Lean Six Sigma guy by education and trade. And so I kind of think about things in the simple, moderate, and complex, right? I've been asking a lot of different colleagues and folks that are, partnering in state, local, and federal government, like, hey, what did you find to be like, the least amount of hurdles, right? Well, I guess what I would call simple, or more efficient to do, moderate and complex. And of course, everyone says the Fed is it's almost like they don't want us to participate, right? It's so many hurdles and so many challenges. So I really don't know. Like one of the things I struggle with is, and it doesn't matter if I use Chat GPT or whatever, is what is the best market? Is it state, local, and federal? We're certainly not looking to crush home runs and just, be a $10 billion business, right? Like we're fine with some singles and some doubles. But if I'm going to exert, 400 hours of people's work and I'm wasting my time I would love to know, like in the local government, in the state government, like, hey, it's a waste of your time. Based on your products and services, you're wasting your time. And I just can't get that answer, to be honest with you. So like when people ask me, where do I want to focus? I have no idea.
Yeah. I've said this a lot to people over the years, Michael, and that is this. I think you're in a situation where you have to reverse engineer your process.
Yeah.
In other words, I didn't ask this. Let me ask this. Is government 100% of your job?
No.
Okay.
No, we have 6,000 clients, customers in the construction trades industry all across the United States.
Will you have a budget for people under you just doing this?
Eventually.
Okay. So I would start with the budget. And that budget today might be the amount of hours you have in a month. And I would say, well, I'm going to spend, 20 to 30 hours a month for 3 months just searching down RFPs and bidding on them. And I think what you'll find is if you had a goal of submitting 6 submissions between now and the end of the year, you'll learn how long it takes to submit something at the state and local level versus federal. And federal would primarily be after your GSA contract is approved. But you'll learn how long does it take to submit these bids at the state and local level. And, what are the margins like, or what would they be like, right? Because a lot of times for products, you don't necessarily have to do a FOIA request. It's just a bid tab where it's a single page that shows everybody's pricing. And so I think you should start with a budget for your time. How much time would you spend on it in a 3 to 6 month period? And then that would inform what you would ask for in terms of a budget for people. but I suspect that you could easily have a person who just does the bid responses.
Oh, there's no doubt. So right now that person is me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that's what I'm trying to understand is where to spend, my time most efficiently, right? And how to get, I would say, a little more granular detail. Like, because what I find myself is I'm muddling through pages and pages and pages of, a contract, trying to figure out, do I even fit? Sometimes you get the contract officer, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you what I mean, you can see the company, sometimes you don't. It's just it's an arduous, painful process.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember, I think you told me you were in government. What level of government were you in?
So I worked for, so I was a soldier, United States soldier for 10 years.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I worked for Department of the Army for the last 20. I hit 49 and a half years old and I was like, I want to go work for a company that wants to make money.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I will just tell you, then you're familiar with like the jargon of federal contracting already. I will just tell you that I think you would be pleasantly surprised to find out that there's less jargon and that the paperwork component of submitting bids at the state and local level is just a little bit less and a little bit more straightforward. And I don't know if the deal sizes would justify your time. You would have to find that out. But I would highly encourage you to maybe focus on state and local, right? Once you get that GSA thing submitted, you might not hear from them for 6 weeks. Spend that 6 weeks, just submit things state and locally, whether you use our site or another site. You're going to see a lot out there. And then you can determine through that process, like what's the time commitment? How many would you like to do in a year? And I think you would be able to start formulating ideas around a budget in your head if you did that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're happy to have you. If you want to try the site, we'll give you a month because you participated in this session today. And yeah, that's up to you if you'd like to take us up on that.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to understand, just, like you said, spend some time, whether it's Zoom or Teams or whatever.
Yeah.
Like just navigating through the system, right? So I think about it from the perspective of, hey, I'm 50. I need to work myself out of the job. Like, just we're going to bring on a team, vision of the ownership team is, grow, right? Like, Fastenal didn't become Fastenal overnight, so how do we grow? And I certainly don't see myself sitting down and whether it's a tool or other, being the one to go through them and be their VP of all operations and all of it, logistics.
Yeah, I would definitely just look at it as a proving ground. So you might use our site and then hand it off to someone once they give you someone to support you. Because I mean, if your job is bigger than government, I think there's enough going on in government where you could probably justify a person responding to bids, because I don't think it would take long before you won a few things that just covered that person's salary.
Yeah, and that's where it's a family-owned and operated business. So even though we're a wholesaler for major, big box store names like Diablo and Bosch, okay, when you think about like what's in Home Depot and Lowe's, we have our own brand too. So, and we're trying to take that to market, so that's another different thing, so it's good. There's a lot of things going on, the company is great.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Any follow-up questions before we bring on Earl, who probably will be our
No, I don't think so. No, I appreciate spending more time and, navigating through the tool over the next, month or so.
Yeah. We'll be in touch about that. So, and please stay with us, and we're going to bring Earl on. Let's see if Earl has a question. Okay, here comes Earl. Or Cartoon Earl. Hello, Earl.
Hello.
Welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
So I'm a creative. I'm in the web design and development industry. We do a lot of custom app and line of business application programming. And we've been reaching out to small, medium sized local and county governments. We're located up here in Northern California in a small rural county. We have a California State University here, but so we're a little bit bigger than the surrounding area. But county-wise, that's sort of our target demographic. Our consultancy is 9 folks and specialize in custom web design and development. So we respond to incredibly competitive bids where even and increasingly so in the IT world. People are really looking to, they're getting hungry out there. And so the competition is, we're looking at how to set ourselves apart from it. We're also looking at how to simplify our own presentation, because I really believe that when you're getting 60, 70 responses to a solicitation, the more brief and concise we can be and get the point across, the better. So that's really where we're looking to hone our craft in we haven't had a lot of luck. I mean, it's always just a crapshoot in the dark. You don't even get to see the dice, right? We have followed up with Freedom of Information Act requests for winning bids to see where we can improve our own offerings and what have you. I think that was mentioned earlier by the consultant as one method of doing so. So and we're following guidelines and trying to use ChatGPT as we use it pretty heavily in our consulting practice. And but this is new territory in government, especially. They don't know what they're even asking for at this point with large language models, and so how do we convey that? And I heard some good information here about education. Placing yourself at the center of sort of the consortium of information, and getting the word out. We're doing all that stuff. We're venturing into the podcast world, at least in our local market. We're participating in groups and panels, up and down the state. So we are any discussion there would be welcome.
Yeah, and you've said a mouthful, but let me just ask this question: have you participated in an RFP with that number of bids?
Yeah.
And what was the number?
Like 70.
Wow, I haven't seen that, and I've been involved in RFPs for 25 years. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I just personally haven't seen it. So you want to do county website design?
Yeah, county website design and development, as well as, we offer IT managed services for an MSP.
Okay. All right. So I think one hand washes the other. And do you see anything in the business today where the MSP part leads to the web work, or the web work?
Yeah, that's why we exist.
Okay. So which one feeds the other more?
Usually MSP to web design and development. But it's also the more mature side of our business, though, so that might be a little bit skewed.
Okay,
these aren't often marriages made in heaven. Right?
Yeah, sure.
We are pretty unique in terms of a holistic sort of approach to not only the physical security infrastructure of IT, but also how do you make it, the workflow, the business, the consulting.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'll just tell you, and I don't think you're using our website yet, are you?
No.
And that's fine. So you qualify for a 1-month trial instead of the 2 weeks, just for participating today, if you decide to take us up on that. There's an entire category around web design and digital marketing. You would see a lot there. There's an entire category around IT consulting, and that's where the MSP stuff would be. But I will tell you this, and this is not the first time I've made this recommendation. It may be and I'm not saying do this instead of sign up for our website. You could do both. You just pull a list of all the counties in California, and I don't know if you would go out of state, and just have somebody look at their website. And you'll know, you spend 5 minutes per website, which websites need a refresh.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so then you mentioned event marketing, just like we do event marketing. You could have someone identify who would be involved in an RFP for those 20 counties that need a new website. And you could say, hey, we're going to do a webinar for, counties in Northern California, best practices for web design planning in 2026. You could do an event like that. You can also find out there's something called the purchasing threshold in different states, counties, and towns. Are you familiar with purchasing thresholds?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Like, my wife can sign under $50,000, hopefully.
Yeah, so you have one for your company. They have them at the state and local level as well. And below the threshold in the town or the county, and even in the state, they don't have to do an RFP. They might just get 2 bids for something, and that's it. And below a certain other number, it might not even have to be competitive. So you could do a campaign where you find problems on people's existing websites and just propose anything just to start a relationship. Fix something for a couple $1,000s. And now you have a client, you have a reference, and who do you think they're going to like when they do their RFP in 2 years? You know what I mean?
Sure. It's a good idea.
So I don't know what you think of all this or if it's causing you to have follow-up questions, but I'm just doing a little bit of a brain dump and maybe you can react to it.
Yeah, no, I think that is a good idea. We're actually wading into such waters with the local community college here because we're supporting some of their development efforts. But I mean, but one of the troubles with going, blind for some of these institutional websites is that you're talking about $70,000 to $150,000 in a project, so you're over their purchasing threshold. And but as you mentioned, if you do have some sort of relationship that people have already had, so like a model, a basis of trust that cultivating that would be good. And there are certain, smaller sections of things where our consulting practice can come into play. So for instance, like municipal code section of a website, like those are usually a horrid mess, and you can get in and do a lot of good. Or in a small like LLM application, like, hey, if your municipal code, your specific municipal code is programmed in to an LLM agent, meaning AI, right? That could be hugely beneficial both internally and externally to the organization. So,
you could offer
like low-hanging fruit.
You could also offer some kind of audit service. So audit your municipal website, and you could probably use ChatGPT for this. And just say, okay, in our audit, it's going to cost $2,000, and what you're going to get is a document that says, in these 20 areas, this is what you're doing. This is how you should be doing it differently. And you might be able to automate some of that. That would be a fun thing to work on. But I think you already see, what I'm suggesting. I think if you're willing to look at some of these smaller projects as a loss leader, you'll get the $150,000 project. You just might get it 2 years later when they decide to redo the site.
Presuming you're one of those, what do you call it, incumbent vendors.
Well, if you do something for $2,000 in 2 years that they do the RFP, you are the incumbent if you're the only one that's worked on their site in the last 2 years.
Yeah. No, it's a great idea.
So folks, we're sort of near the end of an hour and a half. I don't have a hard stop here. Is there anyone who's already on camera with us or as a panelist who has a follow-up question before I ask anyone else in the audience?
No, thank you. Appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'm just going to end it there, folks. That'll do it for today's edition of MyGovWatch Live. Remember, if you're not already a subscriber, start your free 14-day trial at mygovwatch.com today also. If you want to win more government contracts for less, you'll be glad you did. Thanks for joining, folks.